So what's going on, youth? How's everybody doing? Hopefully you guys have had a wonderful week so far, and hopefully your house is not flooded away from Hurricane Laura. So instead of doing youth tonight, we are bringing youth to you guys, and we're going to do something a little fun before... My voice is going crazy. We're going to do something a little fun before we jump into some discussion. And in front of all of us, we have, count it, 2 Popeyes biscuits. And don't let the water deceive you, because we will be eating these Popeyes biscuits without any water because they are drier than the Sahara Desert. So we're gonna see who can eat 2 Popeyes biscuits the fastest without any water. So the rules are very simple. You just eat the biscuits, and the first one to eat them all or eat both of them wins. But if you take the water, you're out. So you guys are ready for this?
I don't know what to say.
I want to cry right now.
I feel like this is gonna be like
that bad.
Yeah, this seems like it's like too good to be true. I'm like, yo, I get to eat 2
I've seen
Popeyes.
some kids do this at camp a couple years ago, and they were struggling.
Yeah, maybe I've never tried it before. Like,
So-
so.
But I love me some Popeyes biscuits.
Yeah, no
I could
water,
eat all of them by
just
myself.
dry.
That's true. But we always eat it with like a drink on the side. So
Yeah,
I've
so-
never done it like this. So.
All right,
Yeah,
you
you
guys ready? All right. Whew, I'm a little nervous now. Because I'm like, oh crap. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Hopefully you can pick up our. Oh god, this is hard.
Wow, I can't even swallow
Well, maybe this will turn into an ASMR.
Someone bang. Let's start talking.
This is hard. I'm only halfway through one.
I think I like overestimated my abilities.
Just just
You're
sucks
right
all
there,
your
bro.
I'm like,
I think part of the problem, they're so salty.
it just sucks all the saliva out of your mouth, so it's like you can't chew it.
Maybe you should have a dry mouth, because I'm doing okay.
Oh, Eduardo's making some progress.
Everyone's making progress for you.
It'll take some time, but
Oh my gosh.
These things be freaking dry.
I hate the sound of chewing, but it's so dry.
You
I
got
myself am making freaking.
Well, at least there'll be
noise.
some ASMR. That'd be fun.
And if you don't like it, I'm sorry.
Just
Apologies. I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of hard because I ate dinner before this.
My mouth is like, my jaw feels like it hurts now. I'm like trying so hard.
I was gonna eat like that.
That's the best way. Sam, are you eating 2 at once? Oh,
Dang, I'm like dead last.
I'm not rolling.
I don't know. I feel like one of y'all gonna win in the middle.
This is the quietest video I've ever done.
Tune in 10 minutes and see who wins.
I'm gonna be honest, I've been making dinner before this.
Are you that full?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Why is this so difficult?
Because you're a wimp.
The team spirit.
Woo!
I'm like the only one that hasn't finished my first biscuit.
You didn't finish it.
I'm trying!
Let's put it in your mouth, baby.
Gosh, bro. They're so dry that when we can't even swallow it.
Right?
I'm so
I
full.
tried to right now, and it's like,
It's just like, stop.
I'm very full. It's my
I
problem.
need it. Just take the.
I'm not gonna let you win, fool. No!
It's gotta be clean.
No!
It's gotta be clean out of the mouth. Why did it take like 5 minutes to swallow? What if I beat you?
Impossible.
With that.
With a whole entire biscuit in my mouth.
Shit, I mean.
Sorry. It's not a
Who's
fun.
gonna win? Who's gonna win? I feel like I should just give up at this point. There's no chance.
Every team.
No!
Choke on yourself.
Choke on it!
Wow.
No!
You are.
Is it clean? Ah! Hey! Eduardo for the win.
I'm
Meanwhile,
done. I got second place.
I got that
I
last.
got third.
You only ate one biscuit.
Gosh. You're like in last place, bro.
I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I'm gonna pop.
Oh.
That's a lot of food. I really need a nap now.
I didn't want to say it.
Well. Good job, Eduardo. You get
Thank
the
you, sir.
accomplishment of knowing that you can eat a biscuit faster than everybody else. So maybe at one point we should have the whole youth do it and see if anybody can beat Eduardo. Would you be doing it?
That's
You
Yeah,
want to
I'm
do it a
down.
second time?
He did a smaller.
Uh-huh. Is that doing it?
I just want a whole biscuit. That's probably what I want.
Yeah, but then I seen Sam eat like half a little bit, so I'm like, you know what? I gotta take one for the team. So I took the whole last half and just chugged that thing down.
All right. Well, we're gonna do some discussion as well, so we'll be back here in just a second. Well, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to our discussion for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching us eat some biscuits from Popeyes. They tasted great, but it sucked eating them that time because they're so dry. They're drier than the Sahara Desert, and I feel a little bit ashamed because I came in dead last. I only got through one single biscuit, and Eduardo over here just like smashed through them. So I'm like low-key kind of like embarrassed a little bit about how bad I did. I did not expect myself to do that bad, but I guess that's what I get for coming up with the idea. So I don't know, whatever. I got some courtesy laughs from Eduardo and Virginia. They're laughing at me, so it's all good. But anyways, so depending on when you're watching this, what this may not make any sense to you or be pertinent to you at all. But as we're recording this, it is the August 26th of 2020. And so the following Wednesday, so in like September, I think it's 2nd, I think it is, 2020, we're going to start up a brand new series called The State of the Youth. And this is going to be a series all about the big issues and things going on in the world right now, because no matter who you are, no matter how much money you make, how old you are, or anything like that, you are being affected by things like the pandemic right now. You are probably dealing with some level of anxiety potentially, or loneliness, or obviously every one of us is affected in some way over the racial issue that is happening in America right now. And so we want to come at this with a biblical perspective, because I'm sure you've probably heard a million different opinions and perspectives from all sorts of people, but what is the biblical perspective? Because that's ultimately what matters, and how would God see this, and how would Jesus react to it in a sense? And so that's what this series is going to be all about. So the state of the youth, we're going to talk about the big issues that are going on in the world right now, and I think it's going to be really cool. So I'm also going to be bringing in some people to talk, so like our youth team will talk a little bit, so it's not just going to be my perspective, but the collective perspective and experiences of a bunch of different people. So with that being said, as you guys know, we are in the middle or the ending of a series, our vision series, looking at the book and the story of Nehemiah. And the very first week, a few weeks ago, we looked at the beginning of it, the vision of it, what our vision was for the year, and that's rise and build. And then the next week, we looked at prayer, and prayer is the single most important part of this entire vision and any vision that we can come up with. And really the most important part about Christianity in a lot of ways, that there's so much power in prayer. And then, so this week we're going to look at a little bit later on an interaction that Nehemiah has with the king. So if you have a Bible, whether it glows or it flips, you can turn to that. It's in Nehemiah chapter 2. And it's verse 4. I'm just going to read verse 4 because this is going to hit on what we're really going to talk about. But it probably would make sense for you to read a little bit of chapter 2 to kind of get some context as to what's going on. So verse 4, it says this: "Then the king said to me, 'What are you requesting?' And then he goes on to say, 'And then I prayed before the God of heaven, and I said,'" and then so on and so forth. So it's an interesting question. What is it that you want? What is it that you want? So no matter who you are, at some point in life, you are going to come up upon what you would call a God opportunity. No matter who you are, at some point in your life, you are going to make your way to a God opportunity. And this is exactly where Nehemiah is at. Nehemiah is in a moment where he has been given a God opportunity. And so again, like I said, no matter who you are, whatever, you will come upon a God opportunity. Now, sometimes God opportunities are in your face. It's obvious. You've got to be blind to not be able to see that this is a God opportunity. But then there's other God opportunities that are much more subtle and kind of small. And so to give you guys an example of what a God opportunity looks like, I'm actually going to have Eduardo and Virginia share a little bit about a God opportunity that they have.
Well, for us, I know one thing that was a God opportunity, especially for me, well, for my wife as well, like I said, for us, is to go ahead and join CM, Church on a Mission. At first, before we started going to Church on a Mission, we were going to this other church. And I'll be honest with you guys, like I felt like I was going to church, but without a purpose. I was just going there, like my faith was there and stuff like that. So like I was just going to church just to go. I wasn't going to church for like a certain purpose or a certain reason. Like I was just going every single day. And there are sometimes I'm like, do I really want to be here? Like sometimes no, and then that's when we came across with Church on a Mission, and we started like, watching their YouTube videos online and also like that, and also just took that leap of faith to join CM and stuff.
Okay, yeah. So while we were at Church on a Mission, we've been here for about a year now. About 5 years ago, I learned how to play the bass. I didn't really know how to play, but I learned how to play the bass. And at the old church we were at, that's where I learned. And I played, every once in a while, but like I wasn't playing actively, so I would just kind of have a bass at my house, just kind of collecting dust or whatever. But I did enjoy playing bass. It was just that they had their bass player, so I wasn't really playing. But when we started going to Church on a Mission, I just kind of noticed they didn't have a bass player, and then word kind of came out where I had posted something on Instagram about me playing the bass, and then they came, asking me if I played the bass, and like, they wanted me to play, and I had a minute to think about it just because I was, nervous, I was shy and stuff like that, and I wasn't confident since I didn't play bass for like 5 years. I wasn't confident that I had it still in me, but now I actively play on Sundays, and I'm more confident, playing the bass. I enjoy myself, and I think that was the opportunity God gave me to be able to use that platform, to like worship and stuff. So that's how I see it.
So that's really cool hearing from Eduardo and Virginia about the God opportunity that they had in their life. And so obviously theirs was pretty, I guess, like in your face and really obvious and stuff. But God opportunities are not always just those big, like really drastic, really like obvious ones. Sometimes a God opportunity could easily be just something as simple as you're sitting in class and you think to yourself, maybe I should encourage this person to next to me, like that's sitting next to me. Or maybe a God opportunity could be like if you start making money, or maybe you have some extra allowance or something like that, you're thinking in the back of your head, maybe I should pay for the coffee or the food for the person in front of me or behind me. So those might be some smaller God opportunities, but nonetheless, they are still God opportunities. So don't think that the only time you have a God opportunity is like when these big, crazy, like big moments happen. God opportunities show up everywhere. They show up probably even on a daily basis. And you may be thinking, well, okay, maybe I feel like I don't have a lot of God opportunities. Maybe it's like, well, yeah, maybe they have a God opportunity, or maybe like, Ryan has a God opportunity or something like that, but I feel like I don't really have God opportunities. And to that, I would say, I think the biggest way in which we really start to see those God opportunities, because regardless, they happen. God opportunities always happen, probably on a daily basis. God opportunities happen every single day in your life, and it's just a matter of, can you see them? That's really what it is. It's a matter of, can you see them? And so how you see them is by drawing near to God, drawing closer to Him. So things like picking up your Bible or turning it on and flipping through it and reading it. One thing I know is like Proverbs Sometimes it's a little hard to understand Proverbs, but there's a lot of wisdom in Proverbs. And in the Gospels, you can learn about who Jesus is. I know we did a series a little while ago on the good news, looking at the life of Jesus. And so as you go through the Bible and as you pray and as you spend time with God, as you go to church, as you do those things, you start to see those God opportunities and you start to see them much, much more clearly. And so I want to kind of prove it to you why I think you get those God opportunities and you start to see them when you spend time with Jesus. So the very first thing that Nehemiah does, the very first thing he does after he hears if I can talk, after he hears the news of what happens to Jerusalem, the very first thing he does is he prays and he fasts. Now, I, of course, don't know Nehemiah personally. I was not there when it happened, and there's really not like a whole lot that we really know about what goes on at the beginning of this chapter, or really the whole story of Nehemiah. But I could probably bet you, I could probably almost guarantee you that the very first thing that he thinks about when Nehemiah hears this news was not, you know what, let's go rebuild the wall. I bet I can almost guarantee you that was not his first thought. He probably didn't even think about it. He probably was just like, man, this really sucks, and I'm going to go to God because I'm distraught about this, and life is really painful right now because of this. And I guarantee you that the only reason Nehemiah ended up with this plan to help rebuild the walls was because he fasted and he prayed. I can almost guarantee you that there was no instance of him thinking of it before he prayed. And so what happened was, as Nehemiah's praying and as he's fasting, God speaks something to him and says, hey, why don't you rebuild the wall? There may not really be anybody else that's going to be willing to do it, so why don't you take up the burden of that, and why don't you go and rebuild the wall? And so I bet you at some point when Nehemiah was praying, God spoke that to him. Then you fast forward about, I think it's about 6 months or so, I think so. There's some months that we hear from, like, for instance, chapter 1 says, now it happened in the month of Chislev, whatever month that is. I think that's like April, I think so. And then in chapter 2 it says now the month of Nisan, like Nissan Altima. It's not a Nissan Altima, but the month of Nisan. So I think it was about 6 months or so that passed, and all of a sudden the king asks Nehemiah, what is it that you want? So Nehemiah, he has in the back of his head, he knows that there's a God opportunity for him. He knows that there's a God dream, a God opportunity that's within him right now. And now for him, what takes place is now he has the opportunity. It's shown that he has the ability to take action on it. Now, here's the real big kicker about this, okay? You can have God opportunities. You can have God dreams. You can have the biggest God dream, the biggest God opportunities of your life. But what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do in order to see that happen? So something like, do you have a plan? Do you have some sort of idea of what you're going to do with that God dream? So maybe your God dream was something as simple as, in a class like math class, 6-period math class. And if you have a 6-period math class, that's really cool. So 6-period math class, and you know that there's someone that sits next to you that really doesn't like God at all. And maybe you have a God opportunity or a God dream in the back of your head where God says, hey, why don't you at some point tell them about Jesus, or something to that effect? What is your plan to go about doing that? How are you going to plan to do that? And so to give you a bit of an idea of some ideas of something like that, I'm actually going to have Sam come and talk a little bit so that way you can kind of hear some more perspectives about it.
I think God opportunities are super cool. But like Nehemiah was, I think that we have to be prepared for them, and a way in my life that I have found to be prepared for God opportunities, because honestly, you never know when they're going to happen. There's not like a set, like, oh, if I pursue, if I go to pursue my dream, I'm going to have a God opportunity 2 months from now in October. Like, you never know when a God opportunity is going to present itself. And so a way that I've been told, and like I find it true in my life, to prepare for these God opportunities is to live your life and make your choices as if you already have that opportunity. So instead of waiting for like, hey, I'm going to wait to prepare until the opportunity presents itself, you live as if you already have the opportunity. And so when you get the opportunity, you're already prepared. Like Nehemiah in this story that Ryan's talking about from the book of Nehemiah, he was prepared for the opportunity to present itself. He was living and he had the information as if that opportunity was already going to happen, even though he didn't necessarily know exactly when it was going to happen. Yeah, so if your God dream is to be an NBA player, you're not going to wait until you go to college to start preparing. You're going to prepare all through school, and you're going to play, and you're going to train, and you're going to get better until you reach the opportunity. Or if your God dream is to be a pastor, you're not just going to wait until someone walks up to you and is like, "Hey, do you want to do discussion at youth group? Do you want to preach on this event?" Like, you're not going to wait until then to start preparing. You're going to do all of this back end work, and you're going to live as if you already have that opportunity. Like, if you want to be an NBA player, you're going to practice and you're going to work hard and you're going to train your body. And if you want to be a pastor, you're going to read the Bible and spend time in God's word and ask hard questions that you might not know the answer to, even though your God opportunity hasn't presented itself. It's been super true in my life. Like, if I had not have been living a life of like, God, I want to lead worship. That's what I want to do. I want to hang out with students all the time. If I hadn't been learning to play an instrument and spending time with God, when the opportunity presented itself, I wouldn't have been ready. Or if, I love hanging out with you guys and hanging out with students. Like, if I had not sat back and been like, okay, God, I want to learn more about you so that when people ask questions, I can answer the questions. And like, I want to get to know students so that when the opportunity presents itself, I can work with them. Like, if I hadn't lived and made choices expecting that to happen, I wouldn't have been ready when it happened. So I think with God opportunities, you just have to live as if God could be like, "Hey, now's the time, anytime." Because, I don't know, those opportunities are so special. And if you live your life not prepared for them, when they come to present itself, you're going to miss out on something super cool that God has going on. So I would say live your life as if you already have the God opportunity, and live as if you're going to be there already. So, yeah.
So I think that's so true, that when you have a God opportunity and you have a God dream, you have no idea when that God opportunity is actually going to come around, and you're actually going to come across that path when that God opportunity comes to you. And so being ready and being prepared for every day for when that could happen, I think that's so important, because especially like Nehemiah, from the month that he heard about what happened to Jerusalem to when the king asked him, I think it was about 6 months or so, may have been 4, may have been 6, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but man, like 6 months, that's a long time to be waiting on this thing that you just have in the back of your head. And so being ready and being prepared for when those God opportunities actually come across you, man, that's so important. And really, regardless of whether you are ready and you are prepared and you have your plan ready or not for that God opportunity, it's going to come. It is going to come regardless if you're ready or not. And so, man, I would so encourage you guys to stay ready, stay prepared for when those God opportunities happen, and keep an open heart, keep an open mind about it, because they can happen at any point in any moment. And so it's so important to stay ready, especially because as those God opportunities come across you, man, that's sometimes the result of it can be something as big as students coming to meet Jesus. Like, you never know if maybe a simple conversation that you have with someone, that kid in sixth grade math class, they may have asked one question one day, and that one answer led them eventually to Jesus. You never know really what the result is going to be. And I think that'd just be so cool to be able to trace back a moment where you found that a student comes to know who Jesus is because you were ready and you were prepared for a God opportunity when God gave you a God dream. And so I've been really enjoying this vision series. I hopefully you guys have been enjoying it a whole lot too. I've been honestly personally reading through the story of Nehemiah a bunch because I just love this story and who he is and what he's done and everything. And so hopefully you guys will go back and read through the story of Nehemiah. There's a lot of amazing things throughout this book, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for what is to come. And let's do this, youth. Let's rise up and let's build this year, because it's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's going to be awesome. So with that being said, just to remind you guys, next Wednesday we are going to jump into a new series called State of the Youth, talking about the big pertinent issues that are going on in the world right now. And so you guys will definitely want to make sure you're here for that. because I'm really excited about it, and hopefully you guys are staying safe from the hurricane and everything. And so yeah, that's all we got for you guys this week. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Peace.